All right, what's good, guys? It's like 11 p.m. right now. I'm up late, just had this idea. Today's video, I want to break down my entire training philosophy to give you a strong enough insight to where if you just watch this video, pay attention, and really understand it, you can easily implement into your own training to work towards your goals. So in order to really understand my training framework, you have to understand my perspective. I'm a former athlete, so I don't really care about the bodybuilding aesthetic. I don't really care about like the posing or anything like that. I care about functionality, mobility, and my ability to produce force. And with all those together, just overall capability as a human being, maximizing my human body, really prioritizing strength that translates to real life. And dude, you might have a sports car that can go 100 miles an hour, but I also want to have the proper insurance that allows my body to hold up over time. So capability and longevity, I would say, are the two biggest pillars of my entire training framework and philosophy. In the physique, the physique is honestly just a byproduct of training this way. So we don't have to emphasize, certain like crazy isolation movements or anything like that. If you train like an athlete or train to be capable how I do, the physique will just naturally follow. So if I were to just bundle that all up, capability is the main concept, the main idea for this entire thing, right? And this can be broken down into three segments. Number one, the ability to produce force, power. Number two, the ability to be resilient in end range positions so that you're protected in what's traditionally considered as a compromising position, mobility. So we'll just say power, force, mobility, end range, strength. Lastly, functional movement patterns or compound lifts. The idea here is just full body strength. So if you imagine a back squat, you have to stabilize with your core, with your trunk, your entire body, versus a hack squat where it's just a machine where you're really isolating your quads. I want to aim for more of this full total body strength because it translates to real life more effectively. Functionality. We'll just put it like that. Boom. Life. So if you just kind of get a grasp of these three, you understand pretty much everything I do. I know this is just a broad stroke, but bear with me, we'll get a little deeper into the weeds. But just to go a layer deeper, a lot of people can move heavy weight slowly and just kind of be strong in that sense. But the ability to produce force rapidly and violently, the ability to be explosive, that's what power truly is. It's force production in a quick manner. Another way to frame power is our engine. This is our engine. You could have the craziest engine in the world, but without the proper joint capacity, the proper tendon resilience, you're gonna get hurt. It's kind of inevitable. It's actually happened to me in the past before I made mobility a huge focus in my training. So mobility, our ability to be resilient in end ranges and really withstand this force and give our joints and tendons the capacity, mobility is our insurance. And then within both of these movements, both of these categories, power and mobility, we want to build these with functional movement patterns and compound lifts that translate to real life. So we bring our engine and we bring our insurance into real life patterns. The importance of this is that when you only do machines, you're working all of your muscles in an isolated sense. We want to work all the muscles together as a group so that it translates to real life. Moving furniture, picking up heavy objects, wrestling, getting into whatever it is. We know life is never offering a perfect machine setting where you can isolate. Life is always demanding unconventional and awkward movements from our body. So functional movements and compound lifts allow us to be prepared for that. So just to recap, power is the engine, mobility is the insurance, functional movement patterns and compound lifts is how it shows up in real life. These are the three pillars of capability, which is my main framework within training. This might sound like a lot, and I promise you it's not complicated. You can do this in 4 hours every single week. So you don't need to do every single day in the gym. You don't need 3-hour sessions. 4 days a week, 1 hour each session, you can cover all of these bases. Well, how can we possibly do that? The most basic weekly split to cover all of these bases, it's a part of my handwriting, but basically it's a 4-day split. 2 days on, rest, 2 days off. You can do cardio on the off days, you can do sprints, you can go for whatever it is. We have lower strength and power, upper strength and power, rest, lower mobility and maintenance, upper mobility and maintenance. Super simple. You could kind of jumble it around depending on how taxing it is on your nervous system. You might want to do lower power strength, upper mobility maintenance, and then upper power strength, lower mobility maintenance. That way you're not taxing your CNS on back-to-back days. Totally up to preference. This is just a simple framework. We have to understand the intent of each session, right? Because it's not just the movements, it's how we're doing it and our intention behind each one. For strength and power, we want to move heavyweight fast and supplement it with moving lightweight fast. That way we're developing power, moving large forces in a quick manner, heavy back squats with violent intent, supplementing that with plyometrics. Might be holding only 10-pound dumbbells in each hand for the plyometrics. This is going to teach you to be explosive, to be springy, and to really turn your nervous system on in those fast twitch environments. Mobility, this is where you want to build strength in end ranges, meaning strength in the fully lengthened positions. It's one thing to just stretch your muscle. It's another thing to be strong in that stretched position. That's how you get true protection. So you can see how we're moving a bunch of heavyweight fast, lightweight fast, teaching our body to go crazy, but at the same time, we want to protect our body by doing strength through length and building resilience. This is our insurance. This is our engine. Now, how do we actually do that? Like, how do we structure out each individual session? The good news is each session starts the same way. You want to anchor each session with a compound movement. The main reason being, this allows you to wake up the nervous system, right? You can't just jump into plyometrics cold. And it's less about warming up the muscles and getting blood to the muscles, but teaching your central nervous system like, yo, we're active and we're alive, like we gotta be able to produce force fast. Compound movements are a great way to do that. What kind of compound movements? Well, depending on the day, you want your compound movement to hit both your anterior and your posterior chain. If you can't find a movement that does both, like for example, I'll do a power clean complex. I know that the power clean itself will hit my posterior chain nice, and then I can add a front squat to hit the anterior chain nicely. If you don't have a movement that does both, you can just do two compounds. That's super normal. I do it often. Whether it's an explosive bench with a row on the upper days, because it's kind of tricky to find an upper body movement that hits both the anterior, posterior chain. That's how you want to structure it out. So think, okay, get my system online, front side and back side, with a compound movement. If you need two, totally fine. After this, you want to progress into individual muscles, but not in an isolatory sense, in a way that it's almost a secondary compound. For example, a kettlebell swing. The primary mover there is going to be my hips and my glutes. However, as I'm doing the kettlebell swing, I'm also involving my hamstrings. I'm also involving my lower back. I'm getting a slight bend in the knee, maybe the quads a little bit. I'm extending at the top, getting my shoulders, like it's a full body movement, but the primary focus are my hips. You could say the same thing with a Bulgarian split squat, right? Although the primary focus might be the glute and the quad, you're involving other stabilizers. So we want to get into secondary compounds to isolate each other muscle group. And you're going to use these secondary compounds to pretty much hit every muscle group on the upper and lower. So if I start with a power clean complex, power clean to a front squat, I'll do something for the hips, then I'll do something for the quads, for the hamstrings, and then for the lower leg to finish. You can wrap it with core, but that's like the whole gist of it. Upper body, I might do a pushing movement, a pulling movement, and then do secondary compounds for my arms, thighs, tries, shoulder, whether it's skull crushers, whatever it is. Secondary compounds to just hit everything. The only caveat here is that the intention is different between the strength and power and the mobility. So in both of these days, we're starting with a compound and then secondary compounds to leave no stone unturned within our muscle groups. However, the strength and power days, we want to be violent. We want to be moving heavyweight fast. With the mobility days, we're thinking tempo, we're thinking end ranges, and we're thinking overall resilience. So instead of an explosive power clean complex, we're thinking slow eccentric ass to grass back squats, pausing at the bottom in that full knee flexion and then coming up. And just to kind of give you guys an insight, like say we did ass to grass back squats, full deep knee flexion, then we can progress into ATG split squats to isolate the hip flexors. Jefferson curls to isolate the posterior chain, hit the hamstrings. We can hit bent knee calf raises or a spring ankle hold for the lower leg, isometrics for like the maintenance side of things, right? Because I say mobility and maintenance, but what is maintenance? Maintenance is anything like fine tune-ups. Isometrics are great for this, to promote healing, to get tissue activation without causing inflammation. It gets pretty nuanced, but the maintenance can be just general well-being of your vehicle. If you have any nicks, if you have any tweaks or strains, this is your opportunity to tend to those. Just to recap, the overall framework is capability. How do we achieve that? By training power, mobility, and functionality. Our engine, our insurance, and the real life movement patterns that make this usable in real life. You can break it down into a 4-day split. All you need is 4 hours in an entire week. Lower strength and power, upper strength and power, lower mobility maintenance, upper mobility maintenance. The only difference here is the intent. Strength and power, heavyweight fast, lightweight fast. Mobility and maintenance, strength through length, build resilience, tend to your vehicle. What good is a sports car with a fucking blown transmission and flat tires? It's no good. Within each session, anchor it with a compound, then secondary compounds. With mobility, the only difference here is slower intent, full range of motion, with power when moving heavy weight fast. It's about training like an athlete. You might be fucking 30 years old, you might be 40 years old, you might be a fat 25-year-old. Guess what? We're all athletes. Because when the moment demands us to break out and do a sprint, to squat down and pick up our kids, to lift heavy furniture, you need to bring out that athlete, and this is what allows you to be capable in that moment. Strong, mobile, durable, and explosive. This is the capability standard. Hopefully this video provided value for you guys. If you haven't yet, check out my Instagram. I have a ton of content on there. Leave a comment of what you would like to see. I appreciate you for watching. If you made it this far, leave a like, comment, subscribe, the whole nine. Peace, love, prosperity. Thank you. God bless.